Hello everybody, this is some transparent blue TPU filament from Geetech. It's a zero point 0.4 kilogram spool, which is a bit of an odd weight. It was about $20 on Amazon. The roll came sealed quite well to the point that I was actually flexing the spool. So I was a bit surprised to have any moisture issues with this TPU filament. Now TPUs are hygroscopic, but not as bad as nylons. So nylons, they kind of pull in moisture pretty bad. As you can see here with these two temperature towers, the left one is a bit more fuzzy than the right one. This is caused by the moisture in the filament. Thankfully, TPUs are quite easy to dry out in a food dehydrator. I ran it through overnight and I was getting much better prints, though it could have used a little bit more time, as you can kind of tell here. I did since let this filament sit out, and I was able to replicate the tower that's on the right, or tower that's on the left here, sorry. Now, going to kind of try and get this to actually zoom in here, give you guys a little bit better look. Now, this did actually print a lot better, but it's not as good as it being dried. Both the initial test and the letting it sit out for like a week test, these both popped and crackled quite a bit. It kind of saw like Rice Krispies as it was printing. Now let me kind of shuffle a couple things around, get rid of these temperature towers. So the next print that I did was a octopuses, octopies, something like that, whatever the plural of that is. I need to make sure I have the right one. So this guy here, this was the octopi that I was actually printed with the undried filament. He's super hairy. Not, the features don't really look that well. It kind of looks like it missed a bunch of extrusions, and just overall doesn't look as well. Now this isn't as perfect. If you can take a look at the top of his head, didn't print out very well, and he does have a few missed extrusions here and there. If it will actually focus, there we go. So as you can tell, he's printed much better. But like I said, this is why I said that it would be probably a better idea to dry it a little bit more. Now for printing this filament, since it is so flexible, it's not like a PLA, so it's kind of like pushing a wet noodle. So you want to make sure that the feeder unit is capable of actually sending the filament through. Now this is a hot end from, or a whole feeder assembly from a TAS 6, but as you can kind of tell here, it's got a Bowden tube down in here, which goes into the feeder mechanism. Let me get the camera closer. So this is where the filament gets fed through, the top here, goes down through here, and goes into the hot end. There's actually no spaces for it to actually kind of noodle its way out of the feeder assembly. You don't need to have anything crazy like this, but it's something that kind of makes sure that from the feeder unit through like a Bowden tube or right into the hot end assembly, that there's no way for the filament to kind of pop out and kind of do this here, or kind of flexes off onto a different direction, kind of like a wet noodle. Now, setting wise, I printed this at, what was it, 70 bed, and the hot end was at about 210. I could have printed it much better at a maybe lower temperature, because I think this kind of had some issues with that temperature still. It could have been the moisture that was left in the filament, because I didn't get a perfectly dried filament. Now, less retractions are also better, so anything that requires a lot of retractions probably won't print very well with this. It might be very stringy. Supports usually weld themselves to the print. I might actually have a example, and you're not going to be able to see that. So you really can't do supports. You can't really do anything with crazy retractions on it. Bridging obviously doesn't do very well, as you can tell here. Up here it looks much better, but it didn't print these bridges as well. Overall, this filament is pretty good. I will be using it for practical prints, so the appearance of it doesn't matter as much to me. Even with mist extrusions, these are very, very tough parts that it actually printed out, and that's kind of the call for TPU. Anything that you need to have for like feet on something, feet, anything that requires a lot of flexing. Phone cases would probably work really well, even though this stuff doesn't give you the best appearance. Uh, but even with mist extrusions, it's still a very tough filament. Now, one of the prints that I will be using this for, which I haven't printed yet, are the feet for my rail core. That printer does have some kind of noise if you have it on a table. It kind of resonates through the table and everything. So that's going to be my use case for this filament. I'm sure I'll find some other uses for it. Probably some feet for some other printers. But overall, not a terrible filament. It is kind of expensive if you compare it to other filaments, like TPU filaments that are out there. $20 for less than a half-kilogram roll is a little steep, but overall it actually does print pretty well. Now I will have a link to this in the description. It's not an affiliate link or anything, but it's just something so you can go and take a look at it. But as always, have a nice day.